And we're back. Guys, today we're going to be talking about sleep, and I'm just going to jump right into everything because there's a lot of ground we got to cover, and I got to condense it to make it really understandable the way I would want to understand it. So kind of like the first chapter we're going to focus on are just behavioral terms. These are things that you could do on your own without any outside resources. And then we'll jump into supplements and then other physical aids that you could use to help get more sleep and a deeper sleep. All right, the first one is, it's really easy. It's sunlight. Sunlight is probably the easiest thing that you could do throughout your day to start your natural biological clock, which is like a daily rhythm, to help kickstart your circadian rhythm at night. So the first one is just waking up and getting the morning sunlight on you. And when you wake up in the morning, you could kind of tell that there's a blue-white tint in the sky. It's important for your eyes to understand that color scheme that's going on because there's photons being passed out by sunlight, which lets your body know it's time to start the day. If you're waking up early and sunlight isn't available, like if your alarm clock's going off and you got to run to work and sunlight's not even out, you could use false lighting, which is just a bunch of lights in your house, which is above your eye limit, which is kind of like your kitchen light, your living room light, even your car dome light. Just as long as your eyes are getting that sunlight, it's going to let your body know to start being mentally sharp. The photon energy from sunlight is what your body is going to respond to the rest of the day. It's also blocking any unwanted melatonin effects throughout the middle of your day, so you don't get like a midday crash or anything like that. It's also important to get sunlight in the later parts of the day. That's like the 5 to 6 p.m. when the sun has a orange reddish tint. That's also important for your eyes to acknowledge that, access your biological clock and let your natural melatonin start to be produced on its own. The second one we're going to talk about is temperature. If you're waking up in the morning, a really easy thing to do is jump in a cold shower. It doesn't got to be like crazy long or anything like that, and you don't really have to do it. I don't do it, but if you want to kickstart your day and get your body ramped up and ready to go, just jump in a super cold shower for like 30 seconds and it'll refresh you and wake you up. On the other end of that, you want to do the complete opposite when you are going to bed. When you are going to bed, this is what I do. I take an extremely hot shower, and that's going to open up your pores, and when hot water's on you, it's going to allow your body to release heat. It's going to want to cool off by releasing heat throughout your pores, which is going to cool your body off, because when you go to bed, you want the temperature of the room that you're sleeping in to be very cold. So you're further producing those effects by cooling yourself down before you go to bed. That way it's way more relaxed. Another good step is in the morning is that you could also just get into some type of exercise. Throw on some clothes and you could go for a walk. A simple walk will do it. It gets your metabolism started. It gets your brain sharpening, gets everything ready to roll. You could do jump rope. You could do a lot of things as far as exercise. There's a whole group of people that prefer to work out fasted and super early in the morning. Sets the rest of their day up for a lot of progress and success from their point of view, which is a pretty big habit that a lot of people have who are pretty successful, to be honest. We're going to get on another subject now, where it's caffeine. Caffeine, you could use caffeine to optimize your sleep. Caffeine should be delayed by 90 minutes after waking up from a night's sleep to let your hormones regulate a little bit more, where you don't want that cortisol effect to be continuously running through if you just like wake up and start slamming like coffee or caffeine or anything. So the 90 minutes, this time frame will avoid you from the afternoon crash, the grumpiness or the slowdown in midday that is caused from early morning caffeine. So normally when you take a bunch of caffeine in the morning, it's you nice and jacked up, and then in the middle of the day, that's when you get like your afternoon crash, which happens to a lot of people in their workplace. So if you want to avoid that, take your caffeine about an hour and a half to 2 hours after you wake up, and it should stop that midday crash from happening. To further these effects, stop any caffeine consumption around 3 to 4 p.m. 100 milligrams to halt any interference it will have for nighttime in preparation for sleep later on. Dosing of caffeine differentiates between each subject. We kind of all know that, whether it's synthetic caffeine like a Monster energy drink, or natural caffeine where it's like coffee or tea. Some people are more sensitive than others when it comes to that, so just kind of know your caffeine dosages and what you're getting into. Now, some people say drink loads of caffeine and sleep perfectly fine, but the science disproves that in the actual architecture of your sleep regulation. It ruins the architecture where the REM and deep sleep cycles are severely interrupted and the subject will wake up feeling groggier or feeling unrested, which can lead to more caffeine consumption earlier on and the next day because you're kind of feeling like out of it. So you're like, I need more caffeine. And then you just create this cycle of like caffeine abuse, which isn't really good. So you'll get a better night's sleep pertaining towards the architecture of your sleep. Your REM and deep sleep cycles will be a lot more efficacious in the long run and for that night of sleep. That way you don't wake up the next morning and you feel like crap and then you're just like, oh, I need my caffeine or I need my drink to wake up. That's why it's a pretty good topic right now to bring up Granite Supplements Neuro Stim pre-workout. This is 0 calories and only has 187 milligrams of caffeine. Very big on low dose caffeine. If you want to wean off of your caffeine dose but also have a great workout, check out Granite Supplements. Use my code SAM10 for a huge discount on your next purchase. Get off of the megadose caffeine. Get off of those crazy brands of pre-workout. Get with a good company, a reliable company, a company that's going to take care of you, that actually has health supplements, and go to granitesupplements.com. Use my code SAM10. Next one is eating. If you are eating earlier in the day, you are supporting a healthier biological clock that will make you increase your metabolism and increase in body temperature and more mentally alert, right? So that kind of ties in with the body temperature in the morning. Get a breakfast in, get a meal in. If you're doing intermediate fasting, that's up to you. That's your lifestyle choice. If it works for you, awesome, great, keep it up. I like to eat when I wake up. It gets my metabolism going. I could go use the bathroom. Gets my temperature up, everything. So I really like eating in the morning because it feels to me like I'm getting my day started after having my first meal. What about napping? This is a big one. Me as a coach, a person, if I'm coaching somebody and they're not getting enough sleep during the night for their cycles, like they're busy or they're up with their kids or they're working multiple jobs, whatever it is, I thoroughly encourage them to nap just to get more sleep in there. Napping is fine to do. However, do not nap so long that it disrupts your ability to fall asleep within your normal time frame. Right? So like a 10 to 30 minute nap during the day is sufficient for a lot of people, but you don't want to go over that limit to where you're going to bed at like 11 or 12 at night, just later than your normal time frame. And then in the morning, you create this like really bad cycle whenever you're waking up where you feel like crap the next day. That's pretty much what we're trying to avoid. Next one is bed preparation. Avoiding any artificial lights of any kind. It's the exact opposite from our morning routine. You need those bright lights to become alert and mentally sharp, which is what we don't want. We want to calm down. We want our natural melatonin to produce. We want to be way more relaxed. You don't want your brain to be functioning at a high level when you're trying to fall asleep because that will just delay the process of trying to get in more sleep. A helpful tip, this is what I do, is dimming all of the lights. So like in the kitchen and the living room, I turn all those overhead lights off. And then I'll keep like smaller lights like that. Mostly in the living room and kitchen, your best option I would say is candlelight. And it's kind of nicer that way at night too. Like the first night I did it, I was like, oh, this is weird. But it's just because I wasn't used to it. And then the second night when you just have a bunch of candles on, it's actually really nicer. And you kind of feel that mood of like, oh, it's getting late. There's darkness, everything like that. So avoid artificial light, avoid the overhead lights, and your best option is stick with a candlelight. I know nobody here is going to listen to this, but avoid your cell phone. It's the same thing if you're just like looking up at your cell phone or whatever, if you're in bed and that light's just keeping you mentally sharp. And that's just why you keep scrolling on your phone. You got to avoid that light if you want to go to sleep because those sensors in your eyes think it's daytime out and it's keeping you mentally sharp. So the next one, we're going to go into a little bit more physical aids. I think these help so much. So everything we just talked about before is kind of like behavioral things that you could do throughout your day, just creating them habits. These ones are going to be like physical things. Number one's like having a cold temperature room, super big. I always have fans on, as you can see. I love super, super cold temp room. I actually keep that little, where's that? Right there. Right there. That one is another fan. I have it blow directly on me, and then we got the ceiling fan going. Having fans blow circulating the air, open window, having a cool mattress. There's all these new technology out, and I was actually looking at a cooled mattress that I might end up buying. Chances are, if you are waking up multiple times during the night, it's normally from body temp. You'll have a lot of people, me included, like I just sweat a lot. And so when you're just sweating all the time, it's probably creating a terrible sleep cycle because your body temp is just super high. So we want to lower our body temp with, if you could get a cool mattress, take a hot shower before you go to bed, have fans blowing on you, anything you could do to keep yourself nice and cool will be the key to having a really good night's sleep. And then the other ones that I do sleep with a blindfold. It has to be completely blacked out in the room for me to fall asleep, especially when we have like baby monitors on and there's all these night lights everywhere. It has to be completely blacked out. So I really recommend people to get a blindfold when they go to sleep. It really helps. Trust me. You look silly, but it really, really helps. And the second one is, this one's just for me. I wear earplugs when I sleep. When I take naps, I actually wear my firearm headphone sound blockers when I go to sleep. It has to be extremely quiet for me to sleep. Now, a lot of people don't like this because they don't like to hear the sound of like their own breathing or their own heartbeat. Me, I'm the complete opposite. Hearing my heartbeat and taking deep breaths allows me to control my breathing, to slow everything down and go to sleep. And then the third one is wearing nose strips, right? Because we just talked about breathing. Breathing through your nose and breathing through your belly is going to be huge for you trying to go to sleep. And also creating a natural breathing form when you are going to sleep. It's going to create a deeper REM cycle and a deep, deep sleep cycle, right? You want to practice your breathing, wear nose strips so it's easier for you to breathe. A huge commonality with people who have trouble sleeping is because they're overweight, or if you have too much muscle, if you're a bodybuilder. And so that requires a lot of oxygen. So if you're heavier and you're struggling to fall asleep, chances are you probably have mild or actually just pure sleep apnea, or you may need a sleep apnea machine. But the nose strips really help a lot. Like the first time I ever used them, it was a major difference in my sleep. So I highly suggest the blindfold, earplugs, and definitely the nose strips. I would do all three of those things before you even try the supplement form. So the next one we're going to go down is talk about supplements, right? This is probably going to be everyone's go-to because they just want a magic pill to go to sleep instead of working on behavioral mechanisms. I say, get your behavioral mechanisms down and then get your physical mechanisms down, and then supplements should be last or none at all. But the first one we're going to talk about, and it's probably my favorite, is L-Theanine. I have a lot of my clients take this, ones that struggle to fall asleep. So L-Theanine will decrease sleep latency by 26 to 87%, increase in sleep duration, increase in REM cycle. Normally used in pre-workouts, this is pretty funny actually. They put L-Theanine in pre-workouts, in some of them, because it stops the effects of, it stops the anxiety effects of caffeine. So these companies will megadose their pre-workout with caffeine and then put L-Theanine in it, so it stops the anxiety effect, which is, it's funny in my opinion. But L-Theanine will increase your sleep duration, which is really, really important. So I would think about, like, I would say when I first started, I didn't notice a difference till like after 3 days. So just give it some time for your body to adjust to it. The next one is Magnesium L-Threonate. So it kind of sounds like the other one, but it's different. So this is a form of magnesium. So there's some types of magnesium, like magnesium citrate. I also take that every day. But this one is called Magnesium L-Threonate, and it treats cognitive impairment during sleep cycles. So this is going to help your brain function. What I like to say about this one in a easier term is that it allows my brain not to be so active when I do fall asleep. So if you're like me, where if I lay down, my mind is just racing about every little thing, every problem, or everything I got to do the next day or something like that, magnesium L-Threonate will kind of slow that effect or blunt that effect to a certain level. And again, this is a supplement that you got to give some time towards. I take it every day along with the L-Theanine. And then the other one that I just started taking is Apigenin. I just started Apigenin not that long ago. And I would say, again, this one, give it time. The first night I took it, I was expecting some crazy effect, and it was nothing. And then, I would say by the fifth night, my sleep went from like 9 hours to 10 hours. So I'm averaging another hour just off of taking Apigenin. So I'm sleeping 10 hours every night now, which is really, really good. And Apigenin is shown to increase sleep rate and increase your sleep time. So that's pretty important. Those are my 3 top ones. Now there's another one called 5-HTP. In studies, 5-HTP apparently 70% of it gets in your bloodstream, right? And it increases the central nervous system absorption of serotonin, which helps regulation of sleep, depression, anxiety, appetite, insomnia, sexual behavior, and binge eating. So I did take this, and I was taking it for like 2 weeks. I don't know, when I was taking it, I stayed up when I was on it. I would say it almost ruined my sleep a little bit because I just was not falling asleep. It had my mind racing. So I actually started taking it during the day, midday, to keep me more like brain activated, sharper, mentally sharp, I would say. So experiment with 5-HTP if you want. I like I said, I started taking it in the middle of the day because it kept me awake. And when I took it at night, it kept me awake, which is what I was not trying to do. So those are the behavioral mechanisms, physical mechanisms, and supplement mechanisms that you guys could try out if you want to get more sleep. I've done all of these. There's a lot of them I still do. There's some I don't do. I just included more for people who may want to try an experiment, like taking a cold shower in the morning, getting a cold mattress or something like that. If you really want to work on your sleep, you do have to put work into it. Like I did. Don't just buy all the supplements, take them all at once and be like, why am I not sleeping? You have to do a lot of other things, and you want it to be naturally done by your body. You want natural melatonin produced by your body. And actually, that's a good thing I should say. I do not take melatonin supplementation at all. I used to. It's just like, why would I be taking a hormone when I want my body to naturally produce it? And so it's like, why am I taking a hormone in supplement form just to make me fall asleep when I can do it naturally just with a little bit of conscious work on my part? So I would kind of say stay away from melatonin because it's almost going to stop your, I don't want to say it's going to stop your natural melatonin from being produced, but just I would recommend staying away from it. In the long term, it's not good because you just start popping them like 5 milligrams, 10 milligrams, 15 milligrams. Next thing you know, you just can't even fall asleep on your own because you're not producing natural melatonin. So I would say stay away from it. But that's just my opinion. You can do whatever you want. So we have all of our mechanisms. We have our behavioral, getting in that sunlight, getting exercise, getting food in, pay attention to your caffeine consumption throughout the day is pretty important. We have your physical mechanisms. Basically your sleep aids, your blindfold, nice cold temperature room, feeling fatigued with exercise. And we have your supplement mechanisms where I gave you guys some really good supplements. If you want to go down that route, all of those things have helped me. I hope it helps you guys too. I'll catch you in the next one. I'm out of here.